Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome once again to all the people who could join us physically. And I am told at the last count, 17,000 people who are also watching a live stream of this event. Like Rajiv said, this is the second edition for us, and every year we do see it growing bigger and better, but nothing like seeing a lot of you face to face and getting to exchange thoughts and ideas. Now, you saw the video, right? And I've been seeing it over the last few days many times over. Every time I see it, I do get the goosebumps, right? Because when you're living through the change, you don't necessarily see the amount of progress that we made together as a country. But when you put it all together and look at all the good foundational work which has happened over the last decade or so, it is truly inspiring, and we should all feel proud of driving this change together as a country. But like I said, this is only the foundation, right? And everyone's talking very excitedly. Every day when you open the paper, there's about this new, even brighter future, because the last decade was just about building the foundation. But the foundation will also help us propel into a new orbit in the next decade, which is for the good of all of us in the IT industry, is being called the new decade. Now, what are some of the foundations that we've built together? One is this thing about a huge skilled talent pool, the tech workforce. Is it new? Absolutely not. It started in the early 90s with the growth of the ITAS organizations. But it's become such a large force that out of 55 million technology workforce in the world, 10% sits out of the country. 5 to 6 million people out of this country are driving the technology ecosystem of the world. We've built the smart infrastructure. We have over 100 smart cities now in the country. And all of us experience travel abroad, right? Is our infrastructure world class? Absolutely yes. 1 lakh kilometers of new highways getting created. All our airport infrastructure is world class. And a lot of the digital stack that India has created is now being called out as the best in the world, the most secure and done at scale. Remember, we are 1.4 billion people. To deploy secure technology at scale, I think the entire world is applauding us and using this as a role model for other developing countries. And the last one is even more interesting, and we do have Mr. Amitabh Kant joining us in a bit. We have Mr. Chandrasekhar, who's likely to join us. You will hear it straight from the horse's mouth. The lead that India is taking, and which is again becoming very, very evident in global forums, we are becoming the thought leader in sustainability and inclusion. Because again, a very, very large population, we have to take people along as we grow and do it in a sustainable form. And again, the foundation that the country is building will hold us in very good stead for the next decade. So decade is a very broad term, right? And when we all work in technology, we know it's a very, very wide spectrum. But if you were to try to bucket it into 3 or 4 themes, which will really drive the growth narrative of the future, the first one is an ongoing theme. We have been known as the office of the world, right? With all the ITES ecosystem that we have created, whether it is excellent world-class coders, or whether it is a knowledge process outsourcing or business process outsourcing, all these industries are thriving. We have multi-billion-dollar companies operating out of India. What has changed? Post-COVID, there's no new office anymore, right? We are all used to now a hybrid world. And that is allowing for a lot more growth to happen in a country like India. A lot more jobs are likely to move because the person doesn't have to be physically present to deliver the output. The entire world has become a lot more open to remote working. So that's the strength that we've built over the last 3 decades. We do see this becoming a far more accelerated trend in the future. The second one is a new topic. India was an agrarian economy, and we jump shifted manufacturing, moved straight to the knowledge economy. The middle part is getting fixed now. And the government has taken a lot of steps in terms of first correcting complex regulation like GST, in terms of simplifying the logistics part of it, a lot of road networks, world-class ports, world-class airports getting built, and the ease of business has definitely become much, much better than what it used to be in the previous decades. So all these forces are now acting as force multipliers, and we do see India becoming a valid source of supply chain and manufacturing, not just in electronics, but across categories. We see a lot of interest in becoming the factory, not just for local consumption, but for the world as well. The third one is even more interesting. We've been the office of the world, but were we developing a pool? We always had the talent, but the talent was moving abroad to do core innovation. Now, this is the interesting factoid. Of the top 500 companies in the world, the Fortune 500 list, 180 have set up innovation centers in India. That's a large number, which is core innovation, core engineering, core design jobs moving to India. Talent has always been there, but the talent was moving somewhere else to do the innovation. Now the infrastructure is getting created, and we as a company are also participating in that journey. I'll cover that in a bit. But this again, core innovation happening out of the country, because we've shown that we can solve large technology problems at scale, including the COVID management, which is very well appreciated across the world. And the last one again, as a growing country, we'll need a lot more energy. We are not energy sufficient, but the lead that we've taken in some of the green energy topics and sustainability and inclusion, again, will shape the narrative for our next decade. So that's all the India shining, good story, lots of opportunity for growth, demographic dividend, fastest growing economy. But are all our problems solved as a country? Absolutely not. There are still very, very large problems for us to solve, right? And talking about the first one, we are talking about a skilled workforce. That's 5 million. We may need 15, 20 million to support the technology needs of the whole world if we have to come true to the office of the world and R&D lab of the world in the future. Interesting factoid, there are 25 crore students learning every day. Only 15% of them have access to a computer. That's not a fact to be proud of. And during COVID, it came through, right? People have had learning loss because they did not have access to a device for learning. 15 lakh schools, only 10% have digitization as a method of imparting learning. So yes, great progress made, but still a very, very large problem to be solved, where as an IT ecosystem, we have to play a big role. The second is access to basics, right? India's largest learning pool, but a huge shortage of teachers. Enough diseases in a tropical climate, there are enough diseases to manage, right? Huge shortage of doctors. Access to sanitation. So access to basics, when we talk about sustainable growth, inclusive growth, this is still a large problem to be solved. Productivity is again a very interesting topic, right? As an agrarian economy, we know how to grow crops, right? We also export a fair bit. Productivity per hectare is half of some of the better agrarian economies. We produce 3.5 tons per hectare per year. Australia produces 7. So we are half of that. Industrial productivity, we contribute to 3% of global industrial production. For a country our size, it should be 2x, 3x in the near term. And the last one, like I said, for our economy to keep growing, we'll need a lot of energy to propel the economy to from 6, 7, 8, 10% growth for a sustained period. We just don't have the energy. So some of the topics that you keep hearing about, renewable energy, India taking the lead on solar, EV, etc. It's an absolute necessity for us to keep growing. What is the underlying theme in all of this? That when you have to solve such large problems at scale, 1.4 billion people, taking everyone along, ensuring that everything is done at a world-class level, it will not happen without technology. Which is where it raises the stakes for all of us, right? Great opportunity, great foundation having built over the last 10 years. But this is where the world is looking to us, that as you try and solve for this 1.4 billion population for some of these topics, you'll also create models which will help the rest of the world move forward. And which is where you see the growing importance of the country in many forums, including the driving seat at G20. What are we doing about this as a company? So Chandrika spoke about it, Rajiv also hinted at that. We are a large global organization, very invested in technology, a leader in many ways, in many of the areas that we participate in. A full reflection of that is there in the country. We've been making in India for the last 2 decades. It's not a new topic for us. For the rest of the industry, it's a new topic. Last year, we made 6 million units out of the country. It's not a small number. But our ability to deliver everything from pocket to cloud, right? From a Motorola phone to a high-performance computing solution, including decoding complex genomics, we've done that deployment in country. So very, very invested in terms of the entire global spectrum of devices and solutions that we have that's available in India, made in India as we speak. So I hinted at this, our R&D capability of India. We have 400 engineers working on our Android phones every day. We have a few 100 people who are starting to work on our infrastructure solutions, on the core design aspect of it. We have a lot of people supporting our internal digital transformation sitting out of Bangalore. So again, these kind of jobs were not there in India from us as a company some time back. It was manufacturing and go-to-market. But the fact that we are bringing R&D capability to India, again, very, very invested in how India wants to grow in the future. And the last one is advanced solutions capability. right? Because when we talk to some of our customers, some of you are present in the room, the world of IT is becoming so dynamic, so complex, and so fast paced that everyone's looking for a trusted partner who can do advanced solutioning. It's not just selling one piece of the puzzle, but becoming an end-to-end solutions partner. And we are developing deep capability for that as we speak. That if you're a healthcare provider, what is your business outcome? What is the problem that you want to solve for? And we can come in with our width of solutions and offering and deliver it out of country because the capability is getting built as we speak. So firmly committed to India's target as a global organization. And our story would not be complete without sharing these two very interesting nuggets and very, very recent ones. Both are launched as of either February or March. This is hot off the press. We've been present, right? We've been a good citizen, making in India, creating employment, creating jobs. During COVID, we spent upwards of $1 million giving back in terms of healthcare. But some of these stories bring out the true power of technology to solve for humanity's greatest challenges, which is what our stated principle is, right? As a global organization, we say smarter technology for all, and we will solve for humanity's greatest challenges. Beautiful examples. The one on the left, everyone's talking about healthy eating, right? And if you look at our heritage, we were eating healthy. We were eating grains which were naturally grown. But we discovered in the southern part of the country, a village in southern Kerala, they knew how to grow millets. It was part of their dietary practice. But they've lost that science. They've lost the art of growing millets. So we are working through some partners where our technology will help them recover the lost species, the lost art of growing those millets, and we'll also help them take it to market. A growing need of healthy eating being solved by technology, and we are making our contribution there. The second one is even more interesting, and Prashant, my good friend who heads Motorola for Asia Pacific, brilliant work. What is the most basic form of inclusion? It is allowing for diversity. It is allowing for people to talk in their language. Are all the scripts available on your phone? No, because the dominant languages will take over. That's easy commerce, right? That you create one standard for everyone. We made the effort of creating some of these scripts back on our Android phones, which is Kuvi and Kangri. Kuvi is in Orissa and Kangri from Himachal Pradesh. But again, if you talk about sustainability, if you talk about inclusive growth, I could not find better examples than these two, which are hot off the press. And I don't see practically many companies doing this kind of effort, which is where I would say our corporate citizenship is coming to the fore. So that's all I had to share. We have an exciting day lined up. This was the India story. But like I said, we are a global company, and we have the privilege of our worldwide leaders also being present in this forum. So it will be interesting to see and hear from them about the global trends in technology and in the overall ecosystem, and then how does it relate back to what we are experiencing in the market. So with that, let me invite Mr. Amma Babu, who is the president of our Asia Pacific and Japan geography.